Good evening, everybody, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. I'm still away, so I'm still not in my podcasting boudoir, and I do need to talk a small bit quieter tonight. So I'm not going to be as verbose as I normally am, which is a shame, really, because I have a lot to say about this game that we just had last night against Liverpool. But thankfully, Paddy is here, and Paddy, as we know, is the referee's aficionado. So I'm delighted that on the day that I have to be more quiet than normal, that we had John Moss refereeing last night, and that Paddy is here today. But we're not going to get into that just yet. Paddy, how are you feeling today? What do you like the day after the night before?
I'm absolutely fine. Obviously, I was pissed off last night with the performance of the officials. I'm not even going to go into that because we'll end up getting sidetracked from the main point, which is that we played a really, really good game. The vast majority of the team played a really, really good game. So we should be focusing on that rather than focusing on John Moss. But we'll give him a little bit of airtime in a while.
Yeah, and that's where we'll start. I think is on the actual team itself. We did a team sheet tantrum. We were, I'm going to be honest with you, Paddy. Jesus, you literally nailed it all. You nailed the score. You nailed Dougie as being scorer. In fact, you actually nailed the team before the team was even announced as well. So you were very, very much on the button last night, and on the back of you. And we've been talking of Douglas Luiz for a while now, specifically playing the A position. But on the back of that, I put a sneaky little bet on it, and him being anytime goal scorer. And I was probably disappointed I didn't put first goal scorer, but didn't want to be too greedy. But that was an interesting one. But I think it's fair to say Stephen Gerrard got the team bang on that started, even though we could only hold the lead for 30 seconds or so. He still got the team bang on for the team that he picked, and for me, that's massive progress for this team, for the setup, for the management, and I suppose for where they kind of know where certain players are going to fit in and how the players are going to play together, even against one of the best teams in the world.
Yeah, and it's probably what we're going to see Sunday week against Man City as well, as a similar setup, and probably deploy somebody to run around after Kevin De Bruyne after his 4 goals.
Yeah.
So far, it's not even over yet, but it's 4 goals tonight. So yeah, so it's ominous, but we'll give it a go.
Before we get on to that, Paddy, is there a worse team in the league than Wolves at the moment? Like, you expect Norwich are flowing against the tide or trying to swim against the tide, as are Watford. Leeds are trying to do the best they can, but they've been on the slippery slope for ages. But Wolves had an opportunity to get into the Europa Conference, and they're literally doing nothing. They've done nothing for weeks. Yeah. Anyway, that's beside the point. I suppose, really, since they beat us, I don't think they've won.
Not sure. They won the Mind the Gap trophy, so there's no need to talk about anything else, is there?
Exactly. Yeah, and actually, I'm just looking at it here. Yeah, since they beat us, they've lost to Newcastle, Burnley, Brighton, and now and drew with Chelsea, and now they're losing 4-1 to Man City. Anyway, Paddy, talk to me. Yeah, so the team we got was right. Great to see Marvellous back. And
Absolutely.
Paddy played well. His positioning is just really good. It's just really good. A couple of hairy passes, passed the ball to them blatantly a couple of times, but his positioning was great, and I think he got in Curtis Jones' face an awful lot, because Curtis Jones was the man who was trying to get into that pocket behind the tree. And I thought he got into his face and that. And I was very happy with how Marvellous played after being out for so long.
I thought he was excellent right from the start. There was one really dangerous loose pass that we could have been punished from. I think it was Curtis Jones got the shot away.
That was it.
Other than that, I thought he was absolutely marvellous throughout the whole game. And unfortunately for us, he was substituted on 60 minutes. And for me, that was a sports science substitution. That was... And we said that was going to happen. If it was me, I would have left him on for 90 minutes or till he eventually capsized and we had to take him off. But he was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. It just makes us look much more unbeatable, although we did concede, obviously, the 2 goals. But when you're playing one of the best teams in Europe, you're bound to concede goals. We only conceded 1 with him on the pitch. The minute he went off, we conceded again. Um,
And I think that was unfortunate, and I know we're going to do this in reverse order because we haven't even spoke about our goal yet. But
mm,
that Liverpool goal, like it was interesting to hear Matt Kenrick, I think it was on a Claret and Blue podcast. I think he was saying that he was close enough to it, and he heard Mick Beale kind of shouting to Douglas Luiz, "You're the sitter now. You're holding. You're holding."
yeah,
And it was almost, I think it was the next play that came. Douglas Luiz obviously he just wasn't strong enough in that position, and they broke from it and they ended up scoring. I have to say this though, and you can talk about Luiz now. Mane's header. I genuinely think that's one of the most underappreciated headers I've seen all year. It looked like it was so easy, but it was miles behind him. That was some header
mm,
to get it to where he got to. Like, if there's the first thing I said, I went, "Yeah, that's shite. We're down 2-1." But wow, how did he get his head on that ball?
mm.
He's a magician, Sadio Mane. He's a real magician, and pity because he scored 9 goals in 10 appearances against us. So sooner he moves to Barcelona, now the better.
Absolutely. Flog him off. That's what I say. I don't want to see him anywhere near us. Nothing sure he come back and haunt us when we eventually get back into Europe, if that's the case. Look,
Yeah.
the goal was very frustrating because, as we just said, we just lost Nakamba, took him off. Um, and for me, a lot of the blame has to go on that short pass from Carney
Mm,
to Douglas
yeah.
Luiz. Albeit Douglas Luiz was probably a bit too close and a bit too high up the pitch. But I'm sorry, Carney, that was just too. And what really annoyed me, whatever about giving the short pass, if you look at the replay, Douglas Luiz busts a gut to get back and try and make some kind of effort, and Carney is just trudging along. And he's only after coming onto the pitch and should be a ball of energy. So he really annoyed me last night, nearly as much as John Moss, but he really annoyed me last night. I know everyone is saying, "Oh, great to see him, great to see him." Yeah, I'd rather see him play well. I'd rather see him not make silly mistakes, and I'd rather see him when he does make a mistake, bust his bollocks to try and get back there and make amends.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say is I wasn't overly disappointed with his performance outside of that moment.
Mm.
He was in hard luck for a goal. He followed in on a shot I think that Allison parried, and he was very lucky not to get there. I thought he was okay. I thought he was okay. But as I say, he's it's the trajectory of his rise is doesn't it seems to be at a slower rate than some of the other kids that are coming through
Yeah,
at the moment. And I think that's okay to say. That's not to say that he's not going to be great or anything, but I think we've been cataloging this since the start of the year. His like when he comes on, he looks less at home than Tim did against Norwich, albeit it was against Norwich, and that is fair to say. Or Jacob Ramsey did in his early days and stuff like that, or Cameron Archer even. That's okay. That's fine.
mm,
Give him, but if he signs that contract, I think we're going to see lots more minutes from him. And this podcast and on this podcast, the two of us are probably more confident than other places with little to no kind of inside information or anything like that. That Carney is going to sign the contract, and that we will
mm.
see him at Aston. But I think last night was probably, he had no need to bring him on. Last night there was more qualified people to come off that bench to
And
play
that
that
and that,
role.
that did annoy me too, considering we had young Tim who plays in that position who probably had a right to come on and do a direct swap instead of upsetting the odds and upsetting the apple cart and bringing in and making Dougie me switch. I should say, but look,
Yeah.
it is what it
And
is.
it was like because it was two changes for one substitution, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah,
you know, there,
and you
there will
can't.
come a
It's
time.
hard to adjust. For Douglas Luiz, I find it hard to give out about him, considering he had such a great game up until then. I thought he was excellent. I really enjoyed
And
watching
I
him in
thought he
that
was
game.
excellent after that as well, because I thought he
He
got a
was,
lot of his
yeah,
passes
yeah,
away very quickly after that too.
yeah.
Snap, but thanks so much for that. I really, really appreciate it. Snap 12 said you inspired me to bet Dougie anytime goal scorer for very long odds. Thank you, gents. Really appreciate that. Thanks very much, Snap. But
Cheers, now.
uh, I think well, no, I don't think you are right on that, Paddy. That substitution. While we're all delighted to see him, you know, color me shocked, but I think it would probably like people are going to think that I'm schizophrenic or something like that. Not that there's anything wrong with schizophrenia, but I probably would have expected Ashley Young to come off the bench in that instance. I know that I do an awful lot of giving out about him, but you know, maybe that might have been the time to bring him on. I just don't know. I don't know. But look, I thought Carney played okay. I thought he played well. I thought he played okay outside that pass. He was unlucky for that goal. And as I say, let's hope that he gets good preseason under him at Aston Villa, signs that contract, and we get to trudge on with the likes of himself and Jacob Ramsey and young Tim being the backup squad or whatever, or maybe pushing through to being the full time squad for our midfield for years to come. Paddy, talk to me about our goal. Um, like Ali Watkins is like, can anyone explain the rules of football to me for a lot of reasons in this one? Because I'm delighted we scored a goal and everything, and Ali Watkins is pushed for the penalty, but he was offside prior to that. You know, how far can VAR go back? This sometimes they can go back like a minute and a half and
Oh
pick
well,
something out. But
I'll take you back to
he
the
was
year
mile offside.
when Liverpool won the league. They went back to a decision in the other half of the pitch. So I was very surprised when they didn't go back. But like, how many phases of play? What was there? There was the third phase of play, I think, before that ball was played in. Um, you know, if you're going to do it, be consistent with it. And it probably shouldn't have been allowed by the letter of the law because he was offside. The linesman didn't get it. So for once, we got a decision in our favour because every other 50-50 decision went to the Reds. 100%. I don't
Yeah.
recall one. The amount of ironic cheering that went on throughout the game was incredible. And like
No, not you, the dog. I can't have the dog bark. I'm barely getting away with this as it is. I can't have him barking.
yeah. But you can't. You just can't have that quality of officials in charge of a game of that importance for Liverpool at that level when we're trying our utmost to go and do our best for the first time in ages, and that's what we have to put up with, an absolute shit show of a referee who has previous. He was the referee in charge when logic should have disallowed the goal when Man City scored against us. Remember that goal where Bernardo Silva came from 50 yards offside to score?
Did you get juggling balls for
Juggling balls.
Christmas?
Yes, and that was my next point. Dean Smith comes to the line and asks to get juggling balls for Christmas and is immediately dispatched to the stand. Jurgen Klopp, every time the camera went on him last night, is like a flea in the fucking ear of the fourth official. It's absolutely disgusting behaviour, and he gets away with it week in, week out. And our manager needs to stand up for us. He needs to not go into the press conference with the written media. He needs to stand there in front of the world and tell the Sky Sports or BT, whoever it is, that was a shit show. That was an absolute farce. That guy has no place on a football pitch. He was blowing out of his arse after 10 minutes. I couldn't believe how unfit and off the pace he was. And that's as much airtime as I'm giving him because he was absolute. He just couldn't have enough words to say about him.
Was it 3 times he got in the way of us as we tried to pass the ball
Yeah,
during the game?
but it was definitely two
Yeah.
outrageous ones where there was one where we were on the edge of our own box and we literally had to pivot and go the opposite direction because he was in the
Yeah.
way. It's just mind blowing.
Yeah, I think actually the pass from Nakamba might have waywardly passed it to Curtis Jones. I think he might have been in the passing lane. He might have been stood directly in Nakamba's passing lane
Possibly,
to a Villa
yeah,
player, and Nakamba had to adjust. I'm nearly
yeah.
certain I'm well open to correction
Mm,
on that one. But yeah, look, when you've got the likes of Henry Winter, when you've the likes of big established sports writers, independent, not independent, but what am I going to say? Non-affiliated to Villa or Liverpool sports writers, and they're writing,
yeah.
this isn't his best game at all. You know, they don't need to do that, and to be honest with you, it could be kind of counterproductive to them from a personal level. But like there was quite a
Mm,
lot of people writing about how poor he was, and look, we. I don't think we lost the game because of John Moss, and I think that's fair enough to say. But what I will say is that you never know what can transpire. Like the Douglas Luiz foul, where he's clearly stamped on by Sadio Mane, and he falls over and he grabs the ball. Should he grab the ball? No, but John Moss wasn't going to give a free anyway, and John
mm,
Moss then gives the free to Liverpool. Little things like that, you know.
yeah,
Um, Coutinho gets upended and nothing, and then 2 minutes later, then I think Diego Jota down in the corner. Conze, yes, he puts his hands in him, but it's a free. So like the pernickety one got the free. The obvious like boot up the hole that Coutinho got didn't get a free. So like it was just
Crazy.
inconsistency of it all. And
Yeah.
and genuinely probably because he didn't see some of them. But then again, what are your linesmen for? He's hooked up to everything. Like he's the biggest
Yeah,
microphone in the
absolutely.
UK. It was like as if he was on the Masked Singer or something like that.
Mm.
Big massive microphone.
Yeah.
So anyway, it is what it
But
is, as I say.
as I said at the start, this podcast should be about our great
Yeah,
performance last night and not about the performance of a guy who has no business being anywhere near a Premier League game. And I'd really be calling for Mike Riley to figure out where the hell he's going with this. We saw Stuart Atwell single-handedly cost Nottingham Forest promotion or a chance of promotion last week, and then gets the biggest game of the year of the season of the weekend anyway. Refereeing the Man City game, it's just there's no accountability for how bad these guys are, and something has to give. And our manager needs to step up and start telling it like it is. Do you think all those years? Do you think if Klopp gets sent off last night, he pays the fine? No, he doesn't. Do you think if Ferguson all those years he was shouting at the referee and getting fines? Mourinho, no. The owners pay it. That's the way the game is. We need to bully the officials, or at least call them out when they're in. When they do what they did last night, it was absolutely unbelievable. And I find it absolutely incredible that Liverpool fans are thinking that he was bad for them. I was just like, what the hell? I don't
well,
know at
as I
all.
say, look, it is the ironic cheers said it all. One thing I will say about the crowd last night is that they sounded like the crowd sounded brilliant on TV.
Yeah,
And a couple of podcasts I've heard afterwards have said that there was a real bounce in the stadium last night. Whether it was the floodlights, whether it was it sounded great on TV. And
it
and
did.
we have
Yeah.
a couple of games. Well, we have two home games left for the end of the season. We have Burnley and we have Crystal Palace, if I'm not mistaken. So it'd be nice to get that. It'd be nice to see that,
And
because as
in
as
fairness,
we've said,
it does lead come the lead is taken from the performance, and right from the word
yes.
go, we were excellent last night. Even after we scored, I thought we were excellent. So it's it's down to the team to affect the atmosphere in the stadium, so they need to keep it up.
Keith Cassidy asked a question about one of the t-shirts you're wearing there, Paddy. If anybody stumbled into me drunk on the Saturday night, you might have noticed I had one on. We're looking at having some of these put up for purchase. If any of you guys are interested, keep an
You
eye for
should
the
say,
socials. We'll probably announce it in the podcast.
you should say
Um,
coming soon here.
Coming soon, and Paddy's lapel, but it will be coming soon. We're literally just trying to sort out a price point because obviously, look, we know that time we're in what we're in at the moment with regards to the price of everything at the moment. So what we're trying to do is
Mm.
just negotiate something, and if we can get something at a price point that's somewhere decent, then we're going to release them. If not, we're not going to just flog them for the sake of it.
Mm.
So that is important. They also have a 5 on the back of it for Paul McGrath, and there's a little bit of a redesign. So they've got number 5 on the back as well. But I'm not going to ask Paddy to get up because Paddy famously does the podcast in his boxers, so I'm not going to ask him to get up and model the back of the t-shirt as well. Um, Paddy, one last little thing, or not last little thing, a couple of little things there. On the game last night, the work rate. Like Ollie Watkins of early last year under Dean Smith was back last night. His work
Mm.
rate was phenomenal, absolutely brilliant. And I thought Danny Ings was really, really good as well. A lot of the time he was back. There was times when he was fronting up Diaz back in
Yeah,
our corner flag. He put in a ton of work, and things were, he was everywhere around the field, and they seem to be working really well together. Now, obviously, we're going to call him out as well in the aspect that he didn't
and
meet
and
the
that's fair
offside for
enough.
the one where he
Yeah,
was offside for, and
yeah,
it was a brilliant finish. It was a super finish, and he gets up too early for the cross that comes in that he heads over the
yeah,
bar. I thought that was more difficult than people gave him credit for, though, because
yeah.
there was a lot of people around him. He
And,
did well
and
to
give
get his
give
head up, but
that
it was too high.
set piece a bit of credit because we're very prone to giving
Thanks,
out
Ken.
about. Thanks, Ken. we're very prone to giving out about our set pieces, but it was actually a lovely short corner that was played out to McGinn, who was out in the wing, and it was just floated in perfectly, and he just got up too early for the header. But you have
Yeah.
to call it out when it's good.
Yeah, but I thought his play was really good. Yeah, I think he himself would like to make that run again for when he scored the goal. I did the typical. I was watching it in the bar last night, and there was there was a group of young fellas, and they were watching it for the game that it was. Neither of them followed Liverpool, I don't think, anyway. But one guy kind of copped. I was a big Villa fan, and he kept on saying every 5 minutes, Villa are shit, Villa are shit, Villa are shit. Just kept on saying it, just trying to get a reaction from me. And of course, when Ings scored the goal, I got up and I did the whole fist pump. I was like, yes. No, I didn't say it to him or anything like that. I just did it in my own zone. And then it was chalked off, and I was like, he's going to have a field day on me now, isn't he? No, he didn't. He let me off, but fair play to him. But yeah, he was trying to get a reaction from me. All, but I felt I was like, damn you, Wings, why didn't you stay on side? But I think he could have, and I think he still could have made it because he was in an acreage. And what I think Wings did last night, and it's very seldom that you see it, but he showed, or he's definitely studied Virgil van Dijk, because he was getting into Virgil van Dijk's blind spot behind him quite a lot between himself and Matip, and he kind of like there was times when Van Dijk hadn't a clue where he was coming from.
Mm.
And it was really interesting to see both himself and Watkins last night. It's just we couldn't get the quality of delivery, and our delivery was slow, or we were allowing them get people back. But
Yeah,
when we got into his blind spot, we were getting some good purchase in the striking department. But c'est la vie, like we only got one goal, and in goals win
yeah,
games, unfortunately. But I thought they played well.
yeah. We've completely forgotten about Liverpool's first goal, so we might want to say something about it. For me, the blame is totally at Mings for whatever he was trying to do with that.
He
You know,
just kind of stunned
surely
it.
the first thing in his mind was just to put it in the Rose Ed. I think he was caught in two minds whether he was going to try and stop the ball or put it in the Rose Ed, and ended up standing on the bloody thing. And then there was probably a litany of fouls in the build up, and we had
Yeah.
a karate kick and everything in there. But sure, that obviously Liverpool fans didn't think there was anything wrong with that when they were saying that the referee gave us everything. But sure, there you go.
I can't, like, in fairness, Mings, like, what sums up what Mings did for that goal, because as you say, he was in two minds, and that's when Mings, that's kind of the thing. When you look
Yeah.
at when Mings has done something silly, it's because he's maybe tried to be intricate with something as opposed to literally just hoofballing it out of there. Like, I'm talking like Gary Breen, get it out of there, forget
Mhm.
about it, and then worry about the next one. But what happened was, I think Nakamba was so startled about what happened. When Nakamba had a chance to clear it, he was kind of like, he just went to pieces as well inside there. So we had about three bites of the cherry to get that ball cleared. And then
But it was
even when it
it was
comes
the
out,
first one that killed us. It was definitely
yes,
the
oh,
first
one
one that
hundred
killed us.
percent, 100%, and
I'm
that's
not
because
blaming anyone else for the turn of events that
no, no,
happened
no,
after that.
no.
It has to
But
be
what I'm saying
you're in
is,
the red zone, and
yes,
you're red hot at that stage. You're on the penalty spot. That ball needs to be dumped. First and
that and
foremost, dump the ball.
And that's what I'm saying. It's what caused mass panic, and then people, like, anything can happen when that happens. So the ball comes out to Simicas, I think it is, on the left hand side, and he crosses one in. And even from there, like, Emi Martinez gets a hand to it, and if he doesn't get a hand to it, it's not. I don't think it's gone in, but he gets a hand to it, and it falls perfectly to Joe Matip with no one around him, because all the rest, everyone was getting back on the line. It was just one of those ones that once panic set in, anything could have happened, and it did happen, and we felt the brunt of it. But you're dead right, Paddy, and that's what I was getting to. Is that doesn't happen if Tyrone Mings just decides to kick it, even if he kicks it and he slices it up into the air. What about it? We still
And I
have
think,
panic, but we've got a bit more control to the panic.
we spoke before, and I'm bring him up again. But I watched Chambers play twice from behind the goal, and watched him talking to Mings. And what Mings was missing last night was someone in his ear going, "Out, get it fucking out of there. That's your job. Dump the ball or away, roaring something." And I just don't think, unless Mings is making that call himself to somebody else, that call isn't coming. Now you'd have to expect it's probably coming from Emi Martinez, but he's probably not in a position to call that, not knowing where the ball is going to land coming across like that. But Konza, I don't think, has that. Chambers does, and Mings, unfortunately, is our only leader in there. So there's probably a lack of communication there as well, that he probably thought he had a bit of time and then got caught in two minds.
Yeah, and look, as I say, who knows what? Like rule number one, playing the best team in the world. After you score, try and keep it 1-0 as long as you can.
Yeah.
You know, we barely got, what was it, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, whatever it was. That's that's criminal. It's criminal stuff,
Absolutely
and
criminal.
it shouldn't happen. Specifically against Liverpool, like, because remember when was it 2 years ago, we 1-0 up against Liverpool, then they scored, and then they scored two in more or less injury time to beat us 2-1.
Yeah.
And like they're really deflating losses when that happens. Now we did come back and we did play well, and we took the game to them at the end. I was delighted to see Bertie come on. I thought Bertie played pretty okay when he came on too. You know, we made attacking substitutions. We brought on Bertie, we brought on Bundy, we brought on Carney, and we started to take the game to Liverpool for the last 15 minutes. And we played some really good football. And I just hope that we can kind of implement that type of football with the likes of Coutinho and the team from the start, with the likes of the team that we had from the start, because I think it's our best team. I know people will say about Buendia, and I think we will find a way of getting him into the team, or making the team more creative with him. But I think it is our best team, and I think it's going to be the one that Gerrard will want to play. The one that we saw there, or the setup, should I say, that we saw there with the defensive midfielder Coutinho, and then two really industrious eights there. Because I thought Douglas Luiz looked an awful lot better, and I would imagine Villa are going to be looking for him to ink a new contract soon, even if it does nothing other than protect his value. I think Gerrard will likes the cut of his jib. I think he'll ink a contract again, and he'll be coming back next season.
I think so. Special mention to Fabinho and the love-in from Jamie Carragher, who thought it was perfectly understandable for Fabinho to make 3 cynical fouls, and perfectly acceptable not to pick up a yellow card. And for me, Fabinho actually shit the bed yesterday and wasn't injured at all. And I bet you see him at the weekend. He couldn't cope with the pressure Coutinho had him under. And that's what you don't see. Coutinho does that to some players, and he did it to Fabinho last night. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Fabinho playing at the weekend.
Yeah, I hope. To be honest with you, I hope he's not injured, because I don't know. I have no problem saying it. I would like Liverpool to win the league. I couldn't care less if Liverpool did the quadruple. I'd prefer them to beat Real Madrid, whatever. I think they're a really good team to watch. I think they play football the right way, and for me, they're way more entertaining to watch than Man City. I'd be disappointed if he was injured. Also, for like match that we watched, that I was watching tonight, Leeds and Chelsea. You see that tackle that Dan James made, and Kovacic goes off. It's never nice to see a fella go off injured like that when you've got finals and stuff like that coming up. So hopefully both of them get back to full fitness, and we do see them again. But for the game that we played against them, I thought Coutinho was brilliant, and I won't say brilliant, because he needs to do more on the ball, but off the ball, I think I saw a lot more from him today than I did against Norwich, or than I did against Burnley, that's more. We need to see more of that, specifically because it looks like we're going to have him in the claret and blue for another 4 years, if rumours are to be believed.
Yeah, we could have news in the next day or two, I would imagine.
Hopefully so. And if we do, we'll be back on again. I'm trying to do a small piece on Coutinho's statistics since he's come to Villa, what he's done, and where what the team has done, I suppose, since he's come to Villa. Hopefully, I'm able to pull that together in the next few days. If not, we'll have it over the weekend once I do get home and back.
You're on your holidays, Neil. Just relax, and those videos will come later on.
We'll come relax, Paddy.
We'll come on and talk about how happy we are.
Exactly. And with that, Paddy, thanks for reminding me, because this is only supposed to be a 15-minute podcast, and I'm on borrowed time because I'm expecting her to wake up at any second. So I think we're going to leave it here on that one. Look, the game wasn't to be. There's a lot of positives to be taken out of it. I hate moral victories, but with this one, I think it gives us a glimpse into how we can be set up correctly. I think the last couple of weeks have shown us, since Leicester, we've been very regimental the way that we've been set up, and we've taken it to Leicester, who are a middling team, drew that game, probably should have won it, didn't play our best, brought it into Norwich. Didn't I thought we did enough. I thought we were always playing with the handbrake on against Norwich. In hindsight,
Yeah,
Burnley, we went and we played some really good stuff, and then Liverpool. So essentially, in the last 4 games, we've got 70 to 90 minute performances, whereas beforehand we were only getting 45-minute performances. So I think
exactly.
that's progress in itself. And that's a moral victory I'm going to take. If other people don't want to take it, that's okay. But
Mm.
that's a moral victory I'm going to take. But we're going to end it here on that, guys. If you could just give the video thumbs up, really, really appreciate it. As always, audio podcast. If you guys aren't subscribed there as well, I really appreciate it if you did. If you could subscribe on Apple Podcast, whatever you listen to it on, we're there. And if we're not, let us know. We'll get it put up there somehow. We should be absolutely everywhere. That would be really appreciated. And thanks everybody for everything you do for the podcast. We will be back with a. We'll be back.
Maybe.
We mightn't. We'll be back with a pre-match show. We mightn't actually be able to do a team sheet tantrum for the game at the weekend, unfortunately. Is it Saturday or Sunday, Paddy? The game at the weekend.
Sunday.
Oh, we'll be fine. So I'm goosed on Saturday. Sunday, I'll probably be able to do it, but no hope I'll be able to do it on Saturday. So we will be there for a team sheet tantrum. So crisis averted. But in the meantime, keep an eye out for all the socials, and we let you guys know when we'll be going live again. As I say, hit the thumbs up on the video. We really appreciate it. It wasn't to be for Aston Villa last night, but we live and we learn, and it looks like we're not going to go through the end of this season with a whimper. And it looks like we're going to get results, like Stephen Gerrard said, and long may that continue over the next 3 games. So thanks very much, everybody, for listening. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And until next time, all that's left to say is up to Villa.
Up the Villa.